I'm Gerson Benker with Carestream Health, and it's a medical device company in about 100 countries. And we do all kinds of things. In patient care, we do medical devices, radiology. We have PACS and risk platforms, cloud-based, that help with diagnostics of patients. But we also do old-fashioned stuff like kind of like producing film, you know, the good old film that doctors put against light to look what's wrong with your foot or your arm and you broke it. So a wide variety of businesses. And although I'm a pretty funny and good guy, people tell me I have a lot of enemies. And why is that? Because for many years I have been in the IT transformation business, and I say one thing everywhere where I go. I say, the day where there is nobody around me in my department, no humans, I will be the happiest person. Because I think that IT operations should be, or we should be able to automate it end to end, with zero mistakes after a while. And the one thing I should not have a sleepless night over is IT operations. And that's unfortunately not possible as long as humans are involved. So yes, I am a person who thinks that we can achieve a lot more with automation. I'm so happy here, this product of One Desk. I think it's revolutionary. I've never seen anything like that in the market. And it will answer a lot of steps for me in my process of really real-sizing my IT department, I want to say. So when we talk about healthcare, why is automation so important in healthcare? And again, when you look at this in healthcare, we want to be faster, better, and more effective. But what's really important in healthcare is the fact of being fast and perfect. Because when you have lives involved, you cannot make mistakes. You cannot make the same mistakes over and over again if you have to adhere and answer to regulatory organizations, like in America, the FDA. We are like in 30 to 100 countries, so I don't just deal with one FDA, I deal with 30 FDAs. It is a living nightmare. So healthcare, when it comes to healthcare, automation is the key to be safe and perfect. Now, a brief personal story. Why is automation so important to me? Well, because it saved my life once. Let me explain. About 20 years ago, I was on a flight from Johannesburg to Zurich, Switzerland. And as I later found out, the pilots programmed the autopilot to fly from point A to point B. And as you all know, autopilots are programmed to do that. And that's what happened. We took off and we were on our way. And that's what normal IT service management tools do today. They automate certain tasks. Somebody says, point A is the starting point, point B is the end point. About 6 hours into the flight over the Sahara Desert, we came into a big air hole, and we dropped 10,000 feet, and while we dropped, the plane rolled, a 747 jumbo jet with about 340 people on board. The pilots at that time, it was 20 years ago, were not buckled up either. They flew around in the cockpit, broke their arms, and at that moment, as I later found out, we were doomed. However, the autopilot took exactly 11 seconds during the drop to calculate what is going wrong and what needs to be done to straighten that plane out and get it back on course. 10 to 11 seconds. No human, no pilot could have ever done that in 11 seconds. Due to all the data points and the automation that this autopilot had, it took only 11 seconds to right the ship and save over 300 lives. And so therefore, When I came out of that experience, I said automation in this world is the way to go. And it needs to eliminate as many humans as possible because humans make mistakes. Humans can process that fast. So that's just a little personal story I like to tell because people don't understand why I'm so passionate about, automation. Now, when we talk about healthcare, and I'm not going to talk to every point on my slides, you can read them obviously. One point here that I want to make is that we have these audits I was talking about. Now, when you have audits, what do? You have processes you have to follow, and then a regulatory authority comes in and says, okay, you followed this process or you did not follow this process. If you did not follow the process, you get penalized or you get written up. So what do? You want to try to save cost. You build these big service centers somewhere offshore in India or Eastern Europe, and you fly there and you train people like crazy for weeks. They get it. They're pretty good in executing the process. Then you say, okay, now we have gotten to this point, now I need to still cut costs. So let's introduce like 15 different automation tools. Tools that patch servers, tools that do all kinds of other automated little processes. But now you have the next problem. The people who have to execute the tools are getting confused. It's a swivel chair activity that's what I call it. You get the ticket, now you turn around, you go to the next tool and start working on those tools. And eventually, they get it wrong. It always happens is, although the automation that they execute is okay and good, adheres to the processes, the point A, which tool to use and what process applies here, fails. So what else can you do? Well, get a tool like OneDesk that learns which process applies to which situation, and once that tool learns it, never makes a mistake. You never again have a sleepless night about the next audit, because technology will not fail you like humans. Plus, if you have a lot of attrition, you don't have to retrain the same people over and over. When OneDesk and Amelia learns it once, there's no attrition. We'll be your best IT employee. So this is the slide about regulatory problems. That's why I'm looking at OneDesk. What about remove delays in executing business process around time zones? Well, once upon a time, somebody in my company had the great idea, says, let's centralize IT. Great. Everything was moved to Rochester, New York, upstate New York. Guess what? Time zone difference to China is exactly flipped, 12 hours. Our colleagues in China, our business users wake up, put in a ticket, and guess what? They wait automatically 15 to 20 hours until somebody in the US even answers them. Big problem. My first trip to our China office, I almost got killed over it. They were beating me up really hard. So what did we do? We tried to centralize IT. Lots of companies say it's the right thing, but you created another problem. User dissatisfaction because people had to work. Now you have two ways to solve this. Start building service desks and IT teams all over again to just fill this time zone, or automate. OneDesk takes that problem right off your plate. Besides lowering the cost of IT, of course, or freeing up your really qualified resources. Why would qualified IT resources have to do the same, I call them dumb tasks, over and over again? And even, think about it. It's a waste of resources. Self-service goals. I want to highlight this one here. Remove the complexity of service provision in multiple languages. Guess what? our colleagues in China are not that good in English. They dread calling a service desk in the United States or anywhere else that does not speak Chinese. Big problem. So what we found out is, well, they rather go and Google their problems and try to solve them themselves than to call the help desk. Or they order their own IT equipment somewhere in China because they don't want to deal with a company or a service desk, centralized in our company. Because the language is difficult to understand, it is difficult and uncomfortable for them to communicate. Well, one desk is learning lots of languages. Amelia speaks and understands, as you could see, all the important languages in the world, and it's growing. So again, you just remove complexity, you automated processes, and guess what? People can talk with Amelia and one desk in their own language. No more barriers. Great thing. It's my last slide, I think. That's good, right? The drinks are waiting, so when we look at this slide again, the faster action and decision making. We have a lot of equipment all over the world. When that equipment breaks, the service team that are getting dispatched, what do they have to do? Well, they get the ticket, and after the ticket comes in, they have to make a decision. What are the parts I need to take to this hospital now in order to fix this once and for all? Sometimes they have to climb into clean rooms, they have to go into operating rooms, and the worst thing that can happen is that somebody in a business operations center that we have ordered the wrong part. What about a tool like OneDesk that knows, based on the millions of data points that it gets, what parts potentially are needed for this service call? And right when this call comes in, doesn't just dispatch the field tech, but also dispatches the parts that are needed. Brilliant. Again, you simplified, and technology based on the data points it got will not fail you. The speed of decision making is based on technology, not on humans. There's not thinking, oh, it could be this, it could be that, what's needed. No, as we could see in the demonstration, the data points don't lie. The system can analyze and knows what's needed. So again, in my case, the best IT employee that I think I'll ever have is Amelia, and lots of them. Digital labor and solving problems, not just swivel chairing from one system to the next and humans in between. It's just a waste. It needs to be automated from one end, or from the beginning to the end to end, and that is the future, I think, of service management, and that's OneDesk. Thank you.